My name is Evan Kubes. I am the president and co-founder of a company called MKM Group, which is recognized as Canada's first and now one of the world's largest esports law firms and agencies dedicated exclusively to esports and content creators. We launched back in October and were actually acquired in April of 2019, so a couple of months ago, by a gentleman named Leonard Asper. Some of you may know him. So kind of before we get into this, I just want to put some things into perspective here, just because esports has really come a long way in the last little while. People will often tell you that esports is maybe a 2-decade-old industry, when to me it's really more like a year and a half to 2 years, because from my opinion, until the capital markets really look at something, there's no real value on it, nothing really exists. So in September, the month before we launched, there was approximately $170 million invested worldwide in esports. Fairly nominal number, but the very next month, which was the month that we launched, however, there was $1.7 billion invested. So timing has been a constant theme throughout all these panels. So that worked for us, and we kind of rode that wave. So I'll let everyone introduce themselves, and why don't we start right to my right here with Matt.
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Matt Stroka. I'm Vice President Corporate Development, Capital Markets for Axion Ventures. We started out as an investment vehicle in the video game side. We turned into video game developer, and now that's what we do. We make video games. We use esports as a platform and ecosystem to generate more revenues and higher returns for our shareholders, but also propagate our own IP, our own video games to the mass audience, which has been the biggest, I guess, characterizing difference between life in video games before esports and now part of that, hyper growth stage that we're located in. Thanks. Go ahead.
Hey guys, I'm Bryce Eldridge. I'm 11 years with MLSE in the Global Partnerships Department, and for about 3 years now, we've been really looking at the world of esports in a big way. We hosted the League of Legends North American quarterfinal at what was then called Air Canada Center, now Scotiabank Arena, and it opened our eyes to a bunch of different things. Primarily, there was a fan base in our building that was incredibly passionate and raving about what was going on there. And this is a group that we would never connect with through our traditional channels. We host basketball games, hockey games, soccer games, football games, concerts, and we're sitting here looking at a sold-out arena thinking, wow, we need to learn more about this. And so for the next year or so, a group of us kind of put our hands up. We didn't know what we were getting ourselves into at the time, but we figured, why not? This looks like a fun thing that we can work on. And since then, we've done a few different things. Invested in the NBA 2K League, a team called Raptors Uprising, just wrapping up its second season there. We work in FIFA with EA and the MLS, as well as trying to figure out what we're going to do with the NHL and on the hockey title. But continue to learn and meet new people every day, and it's a really exciting world for us.
Hello. Okay, so hi everyone, my name is Arwina Mogul, and I'm the CEO of Esports Tickets. Esports Tickets is a tech startup that's building an event platform for esports games, events, and activities. Prior to Esports Tickets, I was actually working on the world's first esports theme park in Doha, Qatar. So if anyone is from the Middle East, from Saudi, Bahrain, Kuwait, Abu Dhabi, or Dubai, that is the best place to go to for esports events in the Middle East. It's called Virtuosity. So with Esports Tickets, our first product is actually called Beam, and you can follow us on Instagram, social media, GetBeamGG. And for those of you who may not know, GG in the esports space is a term that you will say after you played a good game with an opponent. It's a short term for good game. So there you go.
I'm Kenneth. People know me as the man who play basketball, but I'm also a big gamer. For those who don't know, I played in numerous tournaments, EA's tournament or esports tournaments. Been in just last year got second place in Fortnite. This year got fifth place, and then got fifth place in Apex tournament recently. So yeah. I'm just a big gamer. I love to go out and play tournaments and stuff and enjoy myself, and I'm basically up here to learn from them. So
Awesome. So esports is most often compared to traditional sports, particularly especially with the advent of the franchise model, recently introduced by certain game publishers like Activision Blizzard, as well as Riot. So thinking about that though, there are some fundamental differences. So Bryce, why don't we start with you? What are some of those differences between esports and traditional sports?
You know, we try to actually look at it as minimal of them as possible, because from my perspective, so as I mentioned, I work for the partnerships department. The two things that MLSE kind of really sees esports as an important platform for are revenue generation and fan engagement, so engaging that new fan base that I was talking about. On the revenue generation side of things, the easiest path to generating revenue is to work with marketing partners. And it's a scary world for brands right now. You know, there's a lot going on. It's confusing. There's so much to know, so many places to go, so many teams, organizations, publishers. The list goes on and on. And for us to be able to compare it to the traditional sports world as best as we can is actually what has helped to keep people feel like they're a little less getting into a really risky situation. Is what it is. You know, we work with a lot of conservative companies that might be worried about their brand reputation, aligning with, you know, personalities in the space that are a bit more uncontrollable than they're used to. And I actually think that that's sort of that's the path that we've been taking, is trying to, you know, think about it in that lens as best as possible. Now, the one thing I will say that we definitely acknowledge is the main difference is game titles come and go. And we've seen most of the popular games have very, very long-standing success. League of Legends, Dota 2, Counter-Strike, you know, I mean, these have been professional esports titles for a very long time. Fortnite has only been around for a year and a half, and obviously you all saw what happened last weekend at the World Cup. Millions of viewers on Twitch, millions of dollars handed out in prize money. We still don't know how long that game is going to be around. Apex Legends came out last year and almost toppled it for a little bit. It seemed to have knocked it off the front page. So that's the one that I would say is kind of the biggest difference, because in the traditional sports world, you know, soccer is soccer. And while another soccer league may come out, nobody's going to reinvent the game soccer and kind of make it better. You know, at least, you know, that's our hope as we kind of build into Major League Soccer. You know, 13 years strong in Major League Soccer, and so far no hiccups there.
Anybody want to add to that?
Well, go ahead. I've some, but go ahead.
I just agree. I mean, as a sports player, I mean, like I was, like you said, Fortnite was huge last year. I was big into Fortnite as a gamer, as the person who literally sits there and just tries to play the new games, go out and like basically Twitch and all that stuff, be on YouTube, be on Instagram, post about me gaming. That's what I try to do. So when I played Fortnite, I was doing that a lot, trying to show content, all that stuff. But then I kind of died off it because I don't know, it got young to me, so I decided to play Apex, and that seemed like an older adult game for me to be playing. So I'm more gravitated towards that. And then Fortnite kind of fell off. That's what, like he was just literally saying. So, but basketball, what I do play for my career, that's never gonna change.
And I guess just expanding on what they both said, with with esports being so fast-paced, a lot of people do compare it to traditional sports, but I think it's important to also know that it's also very similar to the entertainment industry. So the movies where, you know, you're not going to watch the same movie every day for the whole year. You want to be able to, you know, watch another movie, and in esports you want to play another game, something that's more, you know, suited to your play style or maybe more mature. So I think it's important to also highlight that.
And just add one more point onto that. If anyone here wanted to, you can go out tomorrow and start a league, for example, that competes with the NBA. The NBA does not own basketball. But if you want to, let's say, go out and start a Fortnite tournament, you couldn't do that because Epic Games owns all the intellectual property to that game, so you need to license it from them. So that's one key fundamental distinction between the two. So moving on to you, Matt. You know, esports, a lot of people will say, you know, it's still very much in its infancy. So it's growing very fast. Where do you kind of see it going in the next 3 to 5 years? And what excites you?
Well, what excites me, revenue, going to a level that is both
quick growing, but also more sustainable for the entire ecosystem. And I talked about ecosystem in my presentation, and that's how I describe esports and what it's doing. It's insulating the video game development world from short-lived feature games and propagating them to be long-term successes that grow every version or every season that comes out. So in 2008 was a big transitional shift in video gaming. 2008 is when Facebook's API went public, or was available for public. So you got companies like Zynga coming in and making these free platform, very small games and launching on Facebook. And then now you have the globe playing video games. Even demographics that never played video games before, they saw it pop up on their Facebook feed. And in 2008, that was like the start of Facebook. And you know, that was a big change because it opened up such a brand new demographic and in essence, revenue. And that's, you know, revenue is a driving force for any major tech or major new fundamental shift in the world because there's money to be made and that's where investment dollars go. Without investment dollars, it's impossible to grow something. It can't be just a social movement. So in 2008, what also happened is the iPhone launched. And now the iPhone gave every single person with a communication device the ability to now play mobile games. So on the back of that, we've seen another major shift in video gaming, both in terms of revenue, social impact, and the amount of people playing it, and that's been esports. Before Facebook's API was made public, the majority of video games were made by developers, and they were made by the developers but what they liked. And now what we're seeing in video games, Apex is the first prime example, is that video games are being made based on the huge amounts of data that are being collected on the platforms like WeGame, like Steam, based on what people like and what they don't like. Developers are utilizing that data, whether they buy it or in Epic's case, collect it from their own network, and they make games only to the likes of the predecessor game. So Fortnite, it's almost in season 10 if I'm not mistaken. You know, season 10 is a drastically different from season 1. Season 1 is a drastically different game from when we built 40% of it while we were Epic Games China. You know, the whole notion of Fortnite, what we know as it as today, well, before it was just a player versus environment story mode game. You built structures, you built fences to stop the zombie apocalypse, and whoever withstanded the zombie apocalypse the longest would actually win. So that game and its concept and what we see today is like totally different. And I know you're laughing because you probably played Save the World and you're like, what is this? Yeah. So basically what I'm trying to say is what I'm excited about is, and when I said revenue, I knew that would get a lot of people kind of smirking, but I'm really, really excited about making video games that people will love, and that's more guaranteed now based on the data that we collect. If you guys go, let's say we had a tournament of everyone in this room and everyone had feedback question at the end, we would make a game based on all the positive feedback and all the negative stuff we would leave out in the next version. So then more and more people playing it. Now you're telling your friends about it. It's like, oh, you gotta check this game out. It was so good. There was nothing I didn't like about it. Why? Because whether or not you filled out that questionnaire or not, every time you log in and play, the game is tracking what you do, how long you spend a specific part of the map, how long your gun is up and prone when you're playing Fortnite, because when you run, your gun has to be down. When you're running, it means the map is really open and there's no impediments to your field of vision, so you feel more secure. But if you feel more secure in a map, it's not as exciting, your adrenaline's not going as much, so they make next version of the map, they make it smaller, they put more rocks and trees in there, so you're constantly not running, but making sure that you see everything in front of you. No, those are the things that I'm excited about because in essence, all that data becomes assets for us to build games that people will like and more guaranteed to like. That's how I feel.
Yeah, so there's the stigma that esports is more or less reserved for overweight kids eating Doritos in their basement is quickly dying, but there's still pundits out there that believe that esports isn't a sport. So Kenneth, you as a professional athlete, I just want to get your thoughts on that.
I love esports. That's just being honest. Esports is for anybody. I mean, as a professional athlete, I have a job to entitle to. I work out, train, all that stuff. But instead of going out and partying all the time, I would literally sit at home and play video games all the time. And my son is like literally so young, 1 year old already, locked in, knows what video games is. Watch his daddy basically takes my headphone and put him on his head or put him on my head, and watch me play the game. So instead of him watching me out there trying to party and be with all these people and do all this negative stuff, he watched me play video games, which in turn is going to make him millions or billions of dollars at the end of the day, because this industry is literally growing that much. And I'm very much, like I said, interested in them more than me. So I'm trying to get with them.
Awesome. So Arwina, so you're up here in esports tickets. You work with a lot of tournament organizers and even professional teams for that matter. So this is actually for both you as well as Bryce. What kind of partnerships do you guys look for?
So for example, I got cleared to say this. So we're working with the Cavs.
That's the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Yes. So high level detail. So we're working on events. We're working on venues. So those are the type of partnerships that we can foster in the esports space. Because right now, every week, there's almost an esports venue popping up. In Toronto, there's like 10. There's Waves e-gaming. There's Ministry of Game. There's Meltdown Esports Bar, and it's all in Toronto. So, for example, the partnership that we have with the Cavs speaks to activities being held at their training facilities, and also, fan meets, meet and greets with the Cavs. And I'm talking about like the Legion team, so the esports team of the Cavs. Yeah.
From us, I think we define partners in a bunch of different ways. In my world specifically, partners are brand marketers who are looking to take advantage of what we're doing as a media vehicle. And that's where I kind of go back to that comparison of, our Raptors property offers a ton of media opportunities, social media, broadcast media, activations at events, all these different things. On Raptors Uprising, that same property or portfolio exists. It's to a different audience, and sure, Twitch is a bit of a different vehicle than TSN, but they're kind of still the same thing. It's still, appointed viewing. Raptors Uprising plays at 7 p.m. on Thursday night. We have a job to tell people to go there to watch that instead of TSN, basically. But we also are looking as partners.
Damn you!
We still tell people to go watch the Raptors on TSN. Yeah. So we're, but partnerships also mean partnering with people who are endemic to the space. I feel like we've gone a really long time about using the term endemic here. It's an esports panel, so you got to use that term.
It's true.
But so we actually early on, we partnered with this company called FaZe Clan, and FaZe Clan are one of the world's biggest esports organizations. They fit.
They won. We're in negotiations about signing me.
Oh,
so yeah.
All right, well, I'll put it
We should talk after.
Yeah, I'll make sure we put in a good word. I'll say
I'm good, man.
You sort of about esports. No, but so, from our perspective, I think the biggest challenge that we had, because we took such a small bet, we went away from Overwatch League and League of Legends, and the company just felt like that was too big of an investment to kind of jump all in. But at the same time, the NBA came to us and said, hey, they want to do this NBA 2K League. And we were like, okay, we're in. That's easy. It's very, it's endemic to our business because it's basketball, it's the NBA, trusted partner of ours. But we recognize that the world and the community of esports can be very standoffish about people forcing things down their throat. And we were worried that NBA, because it wasn't a traditional esport to begin with, and they reinvented the game to begin with to play in the league, that we would come off as forcing something down the community's throat. But we thought, okay, so if we partner with this company, FaZe Clan, who are super endemic to the space, have a huge following, and just have an authentic voice in there, that they can help us ease into this community, as opposed to MLSE just kind of jumping face first into it and potentially failing.
So just further to that, how important is authenticity to the esports landscape?
I'd say it's the most important. I think one of the questions that may still be coming up, or we're answering right now, is that authentic activation, execution, all of it is the most important, because people they're receptive to brand marketing and leveraging these properties and advertising, but they won't be if it feels like it's just forced in. We have big challenges like that. Tangerine is a huge partner of ours, and a bank more than anything else is going to have trouble kind of breaking through. So instead of saying, sign up and win a free Dell Alienware setup that we play on the NBA 2K League setup, we do fan engagement activations. And we actually just did one at the Rec Room last week, and we had huge engagement, and it really builds off of Tangerine's platform that they've taken advantage of with the Raptors all season long, which is they're the official bank of Raptors fans. And now they're taking that property and making it the official bank of Raptors Uprising fans and giving those fans something to connect with and actually kind of be a part of, because in the world of esports, for a lot of the time, there are no events to go to. You're watching it online accordingly. So you're bringing the community together, which is a lot of fun.
So, considering we're in Toronto and this is kind of an investment conference, I'm sure many of you have either invested or looked at companies like Overactive Media, Luminosity, or Reciprocity and Tidal. So I just want to get your thoughts on, if you guys were to look at kind of the esports landscape and try and pick and choose where you want to invest, what are you looking for?
I mean, everyone's risk tolerance is different. Everyone's portfolio is different. I would definitely focus on a basket. Basket meaning you put your hard-earned capital into different companies that have different things to do with the entire ecosystem of esports. You know, don't just be like, you know what, I really resonate with the team model. I really want to invest in a company that has just bought a team or maybe bought two and getting into a league. There are multiple different areas that you can put your money. There's the game developers like Axion. There are companies that hyper focus on betting in sports betting. There are companies that focus on in-game advertising. And all of these have a part to play in esports and how it moves up in the world in terms of maturation and adoptability. But I would just say be prudent in the way you diversify your portfolio in esports and don't go all in on one sector, because together it grows exponentially, whereas one part of it doesn't work out and you just happen to have all your eggs in that one basket. That will turn you off of investing, but will probably turn you off of esports as well. So nobody wants that. So just be diversified in your approach.
You're definitely not going to find any shortage of people who want to pitch you something that you can buy. We also learned that pretty quickly as an organization. As soon as we kind of announced that we were getting into the world, we were in 2 or 3 meetings a week, just hearing people out, which was very educational for us because I think we had no idea kind of what we were getting ourselves into, like I said before. I would say just make sure that you ask all of the questions that you're looking to get answered, because I think what we saw a lot of was companies had good ideas or even the sort of like seed of a good idea, but no business plan and no path to profitability. There were projections that would be based off of these industry projections that show charts that are just going like this direction. And it's true, there is a lot of money in here and it's a growing industry, but you're looking at a lot of that money coming from game publishers, in your point, control the IP. That IP is the most valuable thing that exists in this world right now, and it's super recreatable, right? Like Fortnite is 2 years old and it's the biggest phenomenon on the planet. 2 years from now, there could be something else. It could come from Epic, it could come from Riot, Blizzard, Activision, whoever these guys are, Axion also. And honestly, like, it's about kind of doing your homework on where you want to be, to Matt's point, but making sure that when you get in that room and you're being pitched stuff, to ask every single question that you're looking for an answer to.
And I guess another point to that would be, and this is applicable to any idea or any tech startups whatsoever, is figure out who your partners are, your key partners, and imagine your business. If you still have a business, if that partnership falls through, if you still have a business, then move on to the next step. And I may be a bit biased, but I think infrastructure is something really important in the esports space, and it's not there yet because it's so new, the industry is so new. So, what we're doing with esports tickets, the product that we're building is it's infrastructure to make sure that if a parent wants to support their kids, esports career, they would be able to find an esports tournament in their city or an esports workshop to get better at it. Like if you're a parent and you want to see if your kid is really good at violin, you probably would know. But for esports, and especially if you're not a gamer parent, it's really hard to know that. So I think infrastructure is really important and something that a lot of investors should look into supporting.
Yeah, so just to summarize that, so basically for investments, look at something that is either completely agnostic from a game publisher or is a game publisher themselves.